Hello, my name's Clive Rowe, and it is my great pleasure to present to you the Classical Roadshow's performance of The Wisdom of the Animals. Our first story comes from the land of the Iroquois, a 14th century American tribe who still exists to this day. This story is about what happens when the love of material things replaces the love of family and community. Ohio, which is the name of the young lady in our piece, is an Iroquois name meaning beautiful, and Helixai, which you will hear whispered at the beginning and the end of the piece, translates to "this is how it was," and is how the Iroquois begin all their stories. Listen out for the shakers, the flute solo, and the rain stick, followed by the piccolo, which conjure up our Native American landscape. So, let us begin with The Dragon's Bride. We'd like to tell you a simple tale from a land without a name. Before they called it America, before the settlers came, when the skies were dark and heavy, and snakes lived in the sand, the sea was ice, the moon was blood, and dragons roamed the land. In these times, Ohio lived within an ancient tribe, and though she had a simple thing, she wasn't satisfied. The local men would never do, her sights were set much higher. Too fat, too thin, no sense of style, no one could occupy her. Sing it loud, sing it true, sing it far and wide, you'll get more than you bargained for if you're never satisfied. One night when the fire was low, a stranger came along. His face glowed in the embers, he was handsome, he was strong. Dark Joe come in, Ohio said, a sparkle in her eyes. You must have come to free me from this life that I despise. I have is what the stranger said, and stayed outside the light. Ohio packed and silently they went into the night. At last they reached the stranger's home. His house was cold and dead, with swords above the fireplace and scales upon the bed. Sing it loud, sing it true, sing it far and wide, you'll get more than you bargained for if you're never satisfied. That dark night, Ohio's world was shaken to the core. Odd shapes outside her window, strange noises at her door. And when she slept, her father came and whispered in her dreams, "You must escape, the man you love is not all that he seems." Oh, hey, oh, woke, her father's words still rising like the tide. She turned to see a dragon lying, sleeping by her side. She rushed towards the fireplace and took her weapon down. With one sure stroke, one dying roar that echoed through the town. Sing it loud, sing it true, sing it far and wide. You'll get more than you bargained for if you're never satisfied. Oh, Hail climbed the ragged cliff towards the sun and ran back to the tribe she left behind, back where it all began. They say she wed an honest man and made an honest wife, that all she ever wanted was the simple things in life. Alex sighed. And so the tale was kept alive as generations died, of how a girl the elders knew was once the dragon's bride. But now, my friends, it's time to leave. The night is close at hand, and soon the moon will turn to blood while dragons roam the land. Our journey takes us from ancient America to ancient Australia and the tribe of the Warrami, one of the indigenous Australian people. This next tale is based on a Dreamtime story handed down by the Warrami through generations. It speaks about the importance of living in harmony with those around you: family, friends, neighbours, and nations. Matari, a name meaning man, is the central character in our next piece. A handsome boy with an ugly personality, no kindness, and no respect. In our next piece, there's a big role for the bass clarinet, a bigger, deeper sounding cousin to the usual clarinet. Also, listen out for some indigenous Australian percussion called clapsticks, which gives us our flavour of the outback. This is Why the Crocodile Rolls. Once in the time of the dreaming, when the spirits created our land, the sun rose out of the red rock and set in the palm of a hand. In just such a time lived Matari, a terribly handsome young man, not just in the tribe of the Warrami, but anywhere else in the land. But Matari was hatred and malice, his temper was one of his flaws. It's a wonder the elders forgave him for all of the trouble he'd caused. It's not about the way you look or where you're living now. It's not about your culture or religion anyhow. It's not about your money or the color of your skin. What matters is the beauty or the ugliness within. One day Matari was chosen to dance in the Caribou and chase out the spirits of evil from the land and the sky and the sea. To honor this solemn occasion, his robes were of kangaroo skin, from an ancient design of the elders, bestowed as a gift from his kin. But such was his hardness of spirit, Matari felt nothing at all. No pride in the honor they gave him, no joy in the gift from them all. And as if to display his displeasure, he rolled and he rolled in the mud to ruin the robes he was wearing and curse his indigenous blood. It's not not about the way you look or where you're living now. It's not about your culture or religion anyhow. It's not about your money or the color of your skin. What matters is the beauty or the ugliness within. Now the elders had lost any patience, they had taken as much as they could, and so they resolved to disgrace him and banish his presence for good, deciding to change his appearance, to frighten all humans away, and be sure he would always remember the way he had acted that day. They prayed to the spirits for guidance, who ordered the thunder to say, he must live in the skin of a crocodile and roar when he catches his prey. So to serve as a constant reminder, the spirits imprisoned his soul, and that's what became of Natari, and that's why the crocodile rolls. It's not about the way you look or where you're living now. It's not about your culture or religion anyhow. It's not about your money or the color of your skin. What matters is the beauty or the ugliness within. What matters is the beauty or the ugliness within.
We now travel 3,000 miles from the Australian outback to Burma, land of the pagoda. Now known as Myanmar, Burma was once the richest country in Asia, but now it is one of the poorest. Our story comes from happier times, but warns us that greed can destroy everything we have, our happiness, our homes, and our families. The Shwedagon is a famous pagoda in Rangoon, and the Karaweg is a palace on a lake outside the city. There are no names in this piece. This was common in Burmese stories, as the intention was to let the story appeal to whomever was listening. This piece features the tam-tam, a kind of gong, and temple blocks, a special kind of wood block in the percussion. It also features the contra bassoon, the biggest and lowest sounding instrument in the woodwind section. It is the last instrument you'll hear in the piece. This is the Snake Prince.
Come with us to a far and distant land, through wooden doors down unfamiliar ways, to watch the sunrise on the old pagoda and shed a little light on Burmese days. A widow comes to see what she can find down by the river under the mango tree. She does not see the snake curled in the branches. She only wants to feed her family. She hears an angry hiss from up above. She knows there isn't anywhere to hide. My lord, she says, please let me take some fruit, and you shall have my daughter for your bride. Woman, says the snake, I'll grant your wish. The offer that you make has great appeal, and at the risk of sounding too self-satisfied, it rather seems I've got the better deal. You can't judge a book by its cover, so don't judge a man by his skin. Don't covet or crave, or you may discover greed is a deadly sin. But as the woman gathers up the food, she turns around and tries to run away. She can't allow the snake to take her daughter. Think of the shame, what would the neighbors say? She stops to hide behind a weeping willow. Please tell the snake, she begs, you've not seen me.
Too late, the snake says, have you lost your marbles? For goodness sake, you're talking to a tree.
The widow has no choice, she must relent. She owes a debt and now she has to pay, and make her youngest daughter dress in white, and wed a snake upon her special day. That night the daughter wakens with a start, her handsome prince beside her in the bed. A single kiss, a broken spell of breath. The prince lives on, the snake he was is dead. You can't judge a book by its cover, so don't judge a man by his skin. Don't covet or crave, or you may discover greed is a deadly sin. And so there was rejoicing in the town, from by the Schweder gone to Carawake. In hours the widow went from rags to riches, and then she went to find another snake. Back she comes with one enormous python. She lays him by the fire on the floor. She goes away to fetch her middle daughter, and leaves her with the future son-in-law. But by and by there comes an awful sound. The snake is not a prince, he has no soul. And feeling somewhat peckish upon waking, a somehow swallowed middle daughter whole. You can't judge a book by its cover, so don't judge a man by his skin. Don't covet or crave, or you may discover greed is a deadly sin. The widow screams, the snake prince runs to hell. Kill it, save her, hurry, do it quick. But snake blood on my skin will turn me back again. Just one drop of it would do the trick. You must protect my daughter, do it now. His dagger out, just one swift blow, and then the snake is killed, and as the girl is saved, the prince becomes a serpent once again. The grateful mother rushes to her child. The snake prince slips away into the night, to wait until the widow comes for mangoes, and leaves with nothing but a fatal bite. So don't judge a book by its cover, and don't judge a man by his skin. Don't covet or crave, or you may discover greed is a deadly sin. Don't covet or crave from cradle to grave, for greed is a deadly sin.
Our final tale takes us to the continent of Africa. There are many versions of this tale, but none of them refer to a particular country. Our version is based on the stories of the Zulu people of South Africa. The chant, Kwasu Kasu Kela, which you will hear throughout the piece, is a Zulu phrase meaning once upon a time. And the moral of our tale is, never break a promise, no matter how important you think you are. You will hear a drum called a djembe, which many African countries use in their music. Also featured is the balafon, which is the African version of what we call a xylophone. So, we end our stories with Jabu and the Lion.
Sukela. Wasuka Sukela. Once upon a time in Africa lived a herd boy named Jabu. To keep his father's cattle safe was the only life he knew. Take a walk with me to the waterside where the sunbeams dart and play. The cows are cool in the midday sun against the sparkling bay. Wasuka Sukela. Wasuka Sukela. Suddenly we hear a fearsome sound that takes our breath away. Somewhere very close is the king of bees, but he sounds in pain today. Jabu walks towards the lion's roar. He finds him in a state. His head is held in a hunter's trap, and he can't seem to escape. I go walking in Africa, and what do I see? I see a lion looking at me. I go walking in Africa, and what do I see? I see a lion looking at me. Wasuka Sukela. Bubesi is my name, the lion says, and my enemies are near. If I don't retreat, I'll be luncheon meat. Won't you get me out of here? I'd love to help, Jabu replies, but first give me your word that when you're out you won't eat me or any of my herd. Whoa, Wasuka Sukela. Whoa, Wasuka Sukela. Anything to get me out of here, says Bubesi to Jabu. You and your cattle will be safe, that I promise you. Anyone can see the pain and fear, the loss of dignity. And so Jabu resolves to help Bubesi to get free. I go walking in Africa, and what do I see? Bubesi making a promise to me. I go walking in Africa, and what do I see? Bubesi making a promise to me. Wasuka Sukela. Jabu lifts the bar above his head to let Bubesi out. The lion stretches up and shakes his mane and has a walkabout. He looks the boy both up and down, his head, his hands, his feet. The truth, Jabu, the whole of you looks very good to eat. Whoa, whoa, Wasuka Sukela. Whoa, whoa, Wasuka Sukela. Never think that you can break your word. Be careful, says Jabu. The pieces of a broken promise end up piercing you. As the lion moves towards the boy, a jackal comes along. I heard an argument, he said, please tell me what is wrong. I go walking in Africa, and what do I see? Bubesi breaking a promise to me. I go walking in Africa, and what do I see? Bubesi breaking a promise to me. Wasuka Sukela. Jabu begins to tell his tale, but the jackal shakes his head. I don't believe a word he says. You must be quite misled. A human trap could never hold the king of all the beasts. Bubesi, please show me this trap before you have your feast. Whoa, whoa, Wasuka Sukela. Whoa, whoa, Wasuka Sukela. The trap is strong, Lubesi says, and puts his head too near. The jackal slams the bar back down and grins from ear to ear. The boy is right, the jackal says, the end has come for you. For broken promises, my friend, always catch up with you. I go walking in Africa and what do I see? I see a lion looking at me. I go walking in Africa and what do I see? I see a lion looking at me. In every tale from every